Welcome to the Society Pod, a podcast for entrepreneurs, marketers, and leaders. Here's your host, Jessica Yarmy.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Society Pod. My guest today has spent her entire career in PR, communications. She's led PR efforts for global brands and large agencies, but 7 years ago, she took the bet on herself to become an entrepreneur, started her own firm called MBO Media. Welcome to the show, Mary Beth Olson.
Thanks for having me.
We were just talking about how you do such a great job of introducing other people to the world. How do you normally introduce yourself to the world?
It's a great question. I'm usually in some kind of social situation, and it's usually, "Hi, I'm Mary Beth from MBO Media. It's nice to meet you." I mean, it's really simple. I don't really overcomplicate it.
And you don't overpitch yourself either.
I try not to. I find that when you're talking to someone who constantly talks about themselves and talks about all their accomplishments within the breadth of 60 seconds, it's a little exhausting. I can do a mean interview and I can do a mean client pitch. I can do it when I need to, but on a regular day, I feel like sometimes it's nicer just to kind of be a little bit more laid back. Although no one in my entire life has ever called me laid back, so.
No, but you're like the wizard behind the curtain. And so you've been in your entrepreneurial lane for 7 years now. What makes MBO special and how do you pitch MBO to people?
We operate as an embedded press office. And I think what makes MBO so special is that our clients' success is our success. So if our clients are not doing well, or if there's something not working in the strategy, we're going to be the ones who know 5 steps before they do. When it comes down to it, our relationships with our clients are so important. If you're on our team and you're part of MBO, it's not just PR. I mean, it's so much more. It's strategy, it's branding overview, it's social media consultation, it's speaking engagements. We take on those personas of our clients and we make sure that we are the best fit for them, but also that they know we are on their team. Like we are our literal cheerleaders in the best way possible. It's founder led, so you're not going to hire us and have an account executive running the show when you meet the founder twice on a pitch meeting.
It's not founder led, it's like founder obsessed, controlling in the mix of everything.
Yes.
OCD, control freak, founder.
You know, you said it, not me, but that sounds about right. It really does. I think you might have a little bit of that too, Jessica.
Maybe just a slice. Okay, you're talking about your clients, and who would you say would be your ideal client, or are there specific industries that you really like niche down into?
When I started my company, I knew just the volatility of the hospitality industry, and I've just seen it from afar and up close. There are so many peaks and there's so many highs and lows in so many industries that I knew I wanted to be experts in a wider array of areas. So for example, rather than one industry, we have done all industries, which makes for a really interesting and really fun job. So I would say our ideal client is someone who has a very big passion and a very strong understanding of business, where they are and where they want to go. I love when people are familiar with PR. I have worked with small agencies. I've worked with, people who are sole practitioners. I've worked with tech founders. I've worked with our friend, Olympic gymnast, Dominic Dawes. So all these different people. But when people have worked with PR before, it makes it great. It's not a prerequisite by any means. I would say our ideal client is someone who really understands PR as a partnership. We're not just someone who gets you coverage. We're a trusted partner in every way, shape, and form.
PR in general is very misunderstood, and maybe the value of it is very misunderstood. So let's say you're talking to someone who might not be like experienced in PR. How do you explain like the value that you bring to the table?
I always say this, and I mean it wholeheartedly. When I'm talking to clients, I'm saying we don't mess around. Like our job is to get you coverage. And Jess, I've seen that with you too. You're like, noise is great, but results are king. For someone who doesn't really understand PR, we have to walk them through the educational process. They have to understand that PR is not going to save your business. What it's going to do is it's going to elevate, it's going to put the bug in people's ear, and it's going to have people understand what your business is. No one can buy a product if they don't know what it is. So for someone who doesn't understand PR, we walk them through the 6-month strategy and we describe it as so. It is a snowflake that turns into a snowball. It's something that you build on. So you have the foundation and you build on it.
Okay, so some people can make it rain and you apparently can make it snow. I love this like PR Elsa-ness to your personal brand. You just actually rebranded your agency, right? Like what was the impetus behind looking at your brand or your company in a new light?
There comes a time when you're helping other people, you're working on other companies, and you're telling them things. It's time to look in the mirror. It really is. And at this point, I said to myself, I know where I want to go, but my Instagram looks busy. My website looks hectic. I'm not practicing what I preach. And if I want to have an agency that is going to be regarded as an Ogilvy or an Edelman, or will always be boutique, that's always in the business model. But if I'm going to really show people what we're capable of, because we're doing the work, we're getting great results, but I'm not a graphic designer. I have to have a creative director who's going to help me. And at the end of the day, we're telling all these great people what to do. It's time to practice what you preach and take it to the next level. We have outgrown it. I mean, it was like MBO Media 3.0, and now we're going to MBO Media 6.0.
Jumping iterations. I love it.
We're trying.
One thing that I've been thinking about lately, what it takes to be a great vendor partner, but I think there's the other side of that coin of like, what does it take to be a great client? And I think maybe in this universe, as a client, there's a lot of clients that are just like, vendors need to perform, vendors need to perform, vendors need to perform. But give me the flip side of that, like where you're a vendor who likes to perform, likes to put results on the board. Like, how can a client show up with you to help you do the things that you need to do?
I love that. But first, let me tell you, I have said to people, MBO Media is not a vendor. I do not look at myself as that. I completely get it on paper, on that tax form. That's probably what we categorize under. But we are a partner for you, and we are an embedded press office that should be considered in-house to a degree. That's how I treat it. That's how I believe our agency operates. But there are great PR clients, and there are some not so great PR clients. The biggest thing that PR clients need to do, there's two things. The first thing is you got to get your house in order before you get PR. It sounds so basic, Jess, but you have to have your logo, you have to have your website, you have to have a following on Instagram, and you have to have a product or service that is off the ground. We are working with a startup right now that's a tech company. It's awesome. But should we have started PR a few months later than we did? Probably yes. But did that give us the opportunity to have a much bigger role in terms of branding and voice messaging and strategy? Yes. So it was a catch-22. But I would say a partner is someone who has their ducks in a row and are ready to take it to the next level. That's the first component. The second component is time. You have to be able to devote time, energy, and effort toward PR. We are going to say, you have a TV opportunity in 3 days from now. Do you want to take it or do you not? You have to be able to be flexible, and you also have to have a growth mindset. You will never know everything. When I was media training Halle Berry would say to me, I want to prep before every opportunity. Those are the people with a growth mindset. Dan Simons from Founding Farmers, I'm here in the DMV. He has 8 restaurants. Every opportunity he wants to prep before, because he knows there are things he doesn't know and he wants to be prepared. So time and having your ducks in a row are the two main things that make a great client.
And then give me the opposite. Give me like what makes a bad PR client, or how would you not recommend someone show up to be a partner with you?
There are a lot of people who want to be famous. And there are a lot of people who have some big egos. Again, I'm right in the DC area. We're right in the heart of it. And there are a lot of people who think that their product is better than it is. And by product, I mean it could be even themselves as a personality. So when you have someone who approaches you who says, I want to be famous, and we say, okay, have you written a book? No. Do you have any letters after your name? No. Do you have any credentials whatsoever? No. But I have this idea. Once in a blue moon, it'll work, and we'll grow you and we'll make you into that person. We'll hire for the bigger role, so to speak. But I'd say a client who's not strong just doesn't understand what it takes. There's a lot of I don't want to say narcissism, but at the end of the day, there are some people who don't understand that PR is really a professional industry, and it's highlighting professional brands and professional individuals. You might think you have something big to share to the world that is worth amplifying, but at the end of the day, I've been working in this industry for 25 years. And if I'm looking over what your message is and I'm talking to reporters and it's not hitting, it's not going to work. We do say no because sometimes it's just not the right fit, or they're just not ready. It doesn't mean you won't be ready. It just means at this time right now, you're not ready.
I like that you use the word amplify, because I think of PR in that way where you have to have some foundation built. There has to be a there, and then PR can be the megaphone around it. Do you think of it in that way as well?
Yes, 100%. And I have to tell you, when I was working with celebs in New York, it was a lot easier to have, Beyonce on the cover of Allure magazine than it is to have some of these founders getting this kind of national press. I totally agree. I think that in order to amplify, you have to have something to be talking about and something legitimate.
I want to move into you as a founder, because you've now been building this business for 7 years. Was there a moment that you decided, I feel ready to do this? How did you decide to start your own firm?
I'm a risk taker to a degree. I'm a safe risk taker as a mom of 2 and a wife, et cetera, et cetera. But I am not uncomfortable taking risks. I was partnering with someone at another agency who was wonderful. We had a different direction in terms of where we wanted to go. She was more doing spas and things like that and hotels. And I knew I wanted to do something with a little more heart. Not to say that that's not a great client, just to say I wanted to do something a little more mission driven. I remember having a conversation with a dear friend of mine. She used to be the beauty director at Redbook. She's now a personality on QVC. I adore her. I remember in New York saying, I should just start my own agency, but I'm in New York City and I'm young and I don't know if I have what it takes. And she would always say, you totally have what it takes. You should do it yesterday. And I was like, yeah, I'll just work for these companies. When I moved back, working for this other woman, I was like, this is great, but it's just not my agency. It's not what I would want. It's not the clients that I would bring on. And so I called her and I said, look, I'm working with this woman and she's awesome, but my gut is saying it's time to move on. And she was like, I've been waiting for you to do that for 20 years. Why have you not done this? I just was like, you're right. Let's do it. You have nothing to lose. You can have a company with one client. That's all it takes. So you jump in.
You do identify as being a risk taker. Did you feel at that moment that it was taking a risk, or did you feel confident, I've got this is a no-brainer?
I think anxiety is a great performance driver. And if I'm totally honest, it's helped me a lot throughout my career. I know there's some famous actresses that are like, oh my God, I wouldn't trade my anxiety for anything. When it's crippling, that's a problem. But when it's productive, good anxiety, then it can really work in your favor. I knew that I wanted to do something big, and I knew I wanted to do something important. And more importantly, I knew I wanted to do something on my own schedule. I wanted to be able to wake up and go to the gym in the morning and then start my day. I didn't want to do the 9 to 5. That's just not who I am. I've never been that way. And so the thought of doing something on my own was really motivating and really exciting. I wouldn't say I'm a huge risk taker, but my dad's an entrepreneur and he's worked for himself, and I don't overthink things. I'm just like, what, this is what needs to happen. Let's go. Let's do it.
And you're talking about the time management of it all. And so you have 2 kids, you run your own business, you're doing mom things, you're doing wife things. How do you do it all?
That's a great question. I did a TV segment series on ABC7 called The Mother Side. I was with some friends of mine. We were on there. And one of the questions was, how do you do it all? And one of the answers was, I wake up at 5, I meditate, I journal, and then I create green smoothies for my entire family. And I'm like, you know what? I wake up at 7, we're late for school, I throw together some food, and we call it a day. So how do I do it all? I don't. I have a very involved husband. We have really grown big time over the last year in terms of, doubling revenue and increasing clients and increasing a team of 2 to a team of 7. And so something's got to give. I'm lucky if I can do pickup for my kids at school at 3 o'clock. I'm always there for my kids, but it's also very much a team effort. I could not do it without my husband, who does a lot. I'd say probably 75% of the momming. So I don't do it all.
We love a supportive spouse for sure. What do you think is the hardest part of being a female founder?
The hardest part about being a female founder is really believing that you have every right to be in a room with anyone else. You have every right to have an opinion. You have every right to work hard and have it pay off. And you also have every right to demand the compensation that you deserve. When I first started out, I was charging so much less than I am now. Now we're, a great industry rate, but at the same time, I just didn't think I was worth it. And I just didn't think that people wanted to pay that much just for me. And I remember thinking that, and then finally something clicked where I was like, okay, I am working my butt off and I'm not getting paid for this. And I'm getting paid, but it's not as much as my male counterparts. And I can tell you right now, I know this for a fact. There's not a lot of men in PR, but there are a lot of men in business. I'm a woman. There's nothing ever to shy away from that. But when I started just embracing that and bringing it to the table, it changed everything. I stopped shying away from the men as being the experts. I was like, you know what? I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to not get compensated for that. And I'm also not going to back down. And I do believe there's a reason that so many women become entrepreneurs in their 40s and in their 50s. I think it's a confidence thing.
There's a lot of headlines about the negative side of being a female founder, like we're underfunded, maybe underrepresented. The percentage of C-level leaders who are female is lower. There's a lot that we're still trying to achieve as women. There are some real positives. There's a certain superpower that starts to come out when you go out on your own. Maybe elaborate on what's the best part of being a female founder.
I think the best part of being a female founder is there's so many great things. And I think that there's so many great things just about being a founder too. Being a female in this industry, there's something very powerful about that. There's also something very powerful about showing up, using your brain and your common sense, and also your empathy and your emotional intelligence that women have intrinsically to really navigate tricky situations. And I think that women are able to bring such a different approach to business in so many ways. And that's why I think a lot of the clients that we jive really, really well with are women, because they understand there's so much more than just these black and white scenarios. So I think being a woman and being a woman founder is a really big privilege. And I think it's a really cool thing to do and to be, as you continue to kind of break down barriers in terms of what women can do or say. It's not just about being pretty anymore. It's about being the whole package and being yourself and being comfortable in your skin, and also being able to talk to anyone.
And also being able to talk to other female founders. And just, I think that would be my favorite thing, is just when you do enter that realm of, I have built businesses, and you're across a table from another woman who's built businesses, and then you see that you operate in the same way. Like you and I kind of like got to a place pretty quickly where it was like, I see exactly how you operate. You see how I operate. It's a level of like language that emerges, because without knowing your background, I know your background. I know you've had to be in rooms, and you've had to justify being in those rooms, and you've had to prove yourself time and time again. I think it's just a fun network to be a part of when you do actually like build something, and then you have that commonality with other female founders.
It's something that's so special. I have a friend, Katie Reese, who has a PR agency in Annapolis. When I first was trying to scale and increase clients and grow, I didn't realize that the hardest part of my business would be actually the people. And I love people. Being a manager was challenging in that I needed to get my act together in that sense. And so she helped me. I hired her to coach me for a little bit. And now we're on the phone and I'm coaching her. And it's this incredible relationship where women who are helping other women succeed, because they know that there's room for all of us in here. I mean, isn't that the coolest thing? It really is. And when you look at female founders, there is a commonality. There is a get shit done kind of thread that we all have and that we all operate with. So you have this common ground.
More women need to go and build businesses. And then when you build your business and you need PR, call Mary Beth. She could amplify your message. It's so important. And I think it isn't represented enough in entrepreneurship conversations. And so much of the social media noise is from men who are building businesses. And a lot of it is not even good or accurate content, but it's loud. And I think women naturally, yes, we're the get shit done, but then we're quieter about it.
I have to tell you, so I have told my husband multiple times, and this is one thing I do think I'm good at, showing people the work I've done. I think it's imperative that we as women specifically do not just assume the roles as doers. I think if we're going above and beyond, our clients need to know that we're doing X, Y, and Z. If it takes us 5 times reaching out to the New York Times or even just the local paper in order to secure that feature story, our client needs to know. And it's not a complaining thing. It's a, just so you know, this is what it takes to get this done. And this is what we've done, and we're proud of it. And I think that's something that as women, we should 100% be able to tout and to be able to communicate. We have to amplify ourselves too. We really do. Nobody's going to do it for you. If you're doing something behind the scenes, that's great. There's always a time and place for that. But if you're doing something and nobody knows about it, that's not going to help your case. It's really not. Especially in PR, you already kind of have to prove yourself and the value of PR because it does take time to really build that momentum.
It's the same in marketing. There's not that understanding of it. And so it's the first to catch blame. It's the first to get cut when dollars are tight. And meanwhile, like, it is the growth engine of your business, but because we don't naturally summarize and celebrate, I did this, this, and this, and it resulted in this, we put ourselves there almost. And so I think to your point, the client needs to know I reached out to the New York Times 5 times, but then also publicly, like, other people need to know. And so whether it's blogs on your website or whether it's LinkedIn posts of like, here's what I did, showing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and celebrating the wins, we hesitate to celebrate our wins because we want everybody to feel like they can win too. And so we don't want to put ourselves at the head of the table because we want the table to be round and everyone can sit here. We're doing ourselves a disservice by not showing that full picture, because it is an equation that the work goes in, here's the output out, and we need to take credit for the output out because we certainly take ownership of it and we take responsibility for it. We need to close that loop and celebrate it.
100%. And I have a woman that I hired who's helping us with the branding and the website. She said, you are doing all this work, but where are the metrics? And I'm like, you're right. Where are the numbers? Where's the we secured this amount of placements? We have all of that. Why are we not showing that? Why are we not really laying it out so that people can see kind of the fruits of our labor? So when our website launches, it's going to be much more metrics focused. And at the end of 2025, we did a metrics recap and it was on Instagram and we just walked it through and we're like, we have 75 plus TV segments in a year. We have this many radio interviews. We have this many online hits. I think you have to celebrate it and put it out there. Otherwise, no one's going to know. People want the face behind the company, no matter what. Like, people want to know, Jess, that when they're hiring you, they're hiring you. And so you do have to put yourself out there. You have to go to networking events. You have to do the things. I am doing a TV segment next Friday. Do I want to do it? No. I have to go through all that time to prep and all my ducks in a row. Not really. It's a lot of effort. You're not getting paid, but it's a good thing to do for the brand. So we have to start showing up for ourselves and treating ourselves like we would our client. And that goes for our brands. We need to treat our brands like we would treat our clients' brands.
That is so true. I fall into the same trap myself where I should be able to ride my reputation at this point. I shouldn't have to remind you. But every now and then you need to remind people that you are that girl. Put results on the board. And so congrats for booking yourself the TV segment. We will link it into the show notes so you can be reminded that Mary Beth is that girl. What is your proudest moment as an entrepreneur?
I'm going to say there are 3. I'll be brief. The first one is I'm really proud of 2025. We doubled our revenue. We're a small boutique agency, but I'm really proud of the numbers that came out as a result of that. The second thing is I've always known that we would be a bigger agency than just myself and another colleague. And to have 7 people and to have my husband now as our CFO, it really makes me feel good to have that team to be able to bounce ideas off of. I just hired my first full-time employee, with the whole shebang, retirement, et cetera, et cetera. So that happened about 5 months ago. That was a big accomplishment. But I would say professionally, one of the biggest accomplishments I had, I would say 6-8 months ago, we had an incredible story. One of our clients was the Lila Bean Foundation. They do pediatric brain cancer research. I was able to secure a Good Morning America feature for them, and it highlighted a family who we are friends with, and they are called the Zachman family. And I got to know Casey Zachman, a 10-year-old with terminal brain cancer. She and I forged this incredibly special relationship. I went with her to get radiation. I got to know her. I would play games with her. My daughter is friends with her little sister. I'm friends with Alyssa and Joe, who are the parents. I don't see them enough, but we are friends. To see that story come to life that I worked relentlessly on. I'm talking weekends. People don't understand how much work, by the way, goes into something like that. So much work. But to be a part of something that special and to have the result be raised awareness and funding for pediatric brain cancer is by far one of the most spectacular accomplishments I feel like I've ever been a part of. And at Casey's funeral, which was probably the saddest thing I've also ever done in my life, I felt this sense of just gratitude that I knew her. We had this special little friendship, and also this feeling of, when you can use your job to make a difference and do something special like that, it's worth it. It's just so worth it.
You talk about your management as being one of your weaknesses, or like the people side kind of being a weakness. And then you telling that story, would you say your superpower is in storytelling or in like connecting?
Really quickly to rewind, my management, I've had publicists who have said to me like, hey, I want to work for you, or do you have other projects, or are there other things going on? So I know that I'm not terrible to work for. Sometimes I don't like the confrontation. And when I say sometimes, it was a real skill I had to work on. Constructive criticism, really being able to articulate and coach is something I did not have naturally. I had to be able to learn it and to do it. And so that's a skill that I feel like I've kind of come 360 degrees in terms of improvement. So there's that. In terms of my superpower, I really do see a story and what needs to be told before it's happened. I can meet you, Jessica, and I can think to myself, okay, here's this incredible woman. I bet she has a ton of interesting stories. I'd love to know more about her background, how she grew up. It's all about the people. My husband and I laugh because he'll know all the details about the historical overview of blah, 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 or he'll be so immersed in these different scientific, I can't even say it. He's so dang smart in so many different ways. But I could tell you when I met you, I could tell you what your mom's name is. I could tell you where you're from. I could tell, what your favorite food is. I mean, these are the things that I pay attention to, and that's the details of the person. So I'd say the storytelling element is there, and also the vision. I look at brands and I think 5 years from now. I don't think 5 months from now. And so I'm way ahead of what I think someone like you, Jessica, could do, or a client can do than they are usually.
If you weren't building MBO Media and having all of these visions for other people, what would you be putting your time toward?
That's a great question. I love my kids. They're great. I'll never be a stay-at-home mom. Untreated ADD is just not going to let me do that. I love animals. I could run a sanctuary. I would be at the beach. I love the beach. It's my happy place. I'd always be doing something. And I do believe that media is my calling. I do love it. I think, I've tried different jobs in the past and it just hasn't clicked like this has. So I would say, I don't know what the heck I'd be doing. I really don't. Maybe I'd be working for you. But I don't know. I have no idea what I'd be doing. I just know right now. I heard that when people retire, their mental health decreases so much unless they have something else that they're doing. My dad's 85. He's going strong. He is running circles around all of us. And I don't think he's ever going to retire. And so am I going to be this involved every single day? And am I going to be working this hard every single day? I hope to hell not. But I do always want to have a hand in it.
So you and I share a couple things. My whole career has been in marketing. I kind of knew very early I was going to go into a marketing lane. You knew very early you were going to go into PR communications, and you never had the quarter life career shift that some people have where you went from, I want to be a doctor, to all of a sudden you came back and said, no, I want to do PR. Did you always know you were going to be in PR, and how did you know that you wanted to do PR?
My mom was a journalist. She still is. She's 75 and writes for a little magazine here in the DMV. She has always been in communications. She was a travel writer. She was on the writer side, right? So she wasn't in PR. She was the executive director of a nonprofit for a while, which was great. So I kind of grew up watching her. I know that she and I share a lot of similar personality points. I knew I wasn't going to be a mathematician. I'll tell you that, Jess. I thought to myself, I think, PR seems like it'd be great. I think I can do this. And so I got an internship at Avon Products Incorporated. Shout out to anyone above the age of 40 who knows what that is. The rest was from there. I must say, when I was pregnant with George, my husband was in grad school, thought to myself, PR is too stressful. I was a completely different human then. We look back at these different chapters and I just thought, this is too stressful. I'm working for other people. I don't want to do this. I'm going to be a teacher. So I went to work at a preschool. And the first day, it was the threes program. So it was like a before preschool. And I said, okay, so who's going to change the diapers? And they laughed in my face. And they were like, that's your job. I was like, oh, okay. I lasted 6 months. Needless to say, it was not my calling. It is not where I am today. So I took a chance. It was an experiment and I learned a lot from that experiment. But yeah, PR is the place for me.
Good for you for lasting 6 months. I probably would have lasted like 6 days, maybe 6 hours.
He didn't ask me back. And I was like, I don't blame you. I really don't. I'm great with kids, but I wanted to just have them on my lap all day and like cuddle and play. And apparently you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to actually do stuff.
It's funny.
I was really bad at it.
Okay, so the other thing that you and I share is a education history that ties to Loyola College in Baltimore. Talk me through how you landed at Loyola in Baltimore and how we probably crossed paths there and are reunited sisters at this point.
I find that very, very, very interesting. So I grew up in this Catholic mafia where I went to all girls private high school in Georgetown called Georgetown Visitation. Loyola was always this great school that people went to and I visited and my uncle did go there. I didn't end up going there. I applied and I was like, this is great, but you know what? I think I'm going to go to Gettysburg. This is different. This is nice. This is fun. So I went to Gettysburg College for 2 years. A writing major just wasn't my thing. I knew I wanted something more. I needed a bigger school. I needed more opportunity. And so I transferred into Loyola as a junior. It's such a great network of people.
I applied to Loyola and 2 other schools, Georgetown being one of them. I didn't get into the other 2 early admission. I got into Loyola early admission. So I was like, I'm going there. I played soccer at Loyola.
When I met you, Jessica, I knew you looked familiar. And I have a weird gift. It's like one of my 2 gifts. Only 2, where I do not forget a face. And I swear you looked familiar. That's where it is. I knew it.
It might have been the resting bitch face that you see on calls is similar to the face that I would have when I was on the field. So that might be it. That might be the tie-in.
Let me tell you something. I never thought I would love someone as much as I love you. After our first couple interactions, I was like, okay, well, this is a doozy. I haven't broken through yet. I'm usually really good with people. What's going on with this one? So I just absolutely adore you. I think it's awesome.
I adore you as well. And I appreciate you coming on to like the podcast today. And we've talked through a ton of different things, but is there anything that is top of mind with you that you want to close out with?
If you know any great clients, send them to www.mymbomedia.com. We're always looking. But in reality, I would say the one thing I've learned is try to take the perfectionism out of your work while you can still be perfect. So for example, have your output perfect. There's no typos. There's no excuse these days for any typos. There's no excuse for sloppiness. Do the best you can, but also know that you're a human being and that certain things that you think might really come easily to you don't, and that's okay. The best founders, the best entrepreneurs, the best business people know how to hire people who are way stronger at certain things than they are. And that's what really allows people to thrive when I'm not sitting here trying to do things that aren't necessarily in my wheelhouse. I can be taught for sure, but at the end of the day, I want people who are better at this job than I am. And so I can stick to my strengths, and that's where I can really really develop. And so perfectionism is not there. It doesn't exist. Just be yourself and let the future bring what it's going to bring.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I absolutely adore you, love the work that you're doing at MBO Media. We'll make sure we link all of your website into the show notes. So if you do need someone to amplify the message that you're building in your brand, personal brand, business brand, whichever, reach out to Mary Beth. She's the bomb. Thank you so much for being with us here today on the Society Pod.
Thank you, Jessica. You're the best.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Society Pod.